Brent, we all set in the back? Great. I'd like to call to order the GCRTA Board of Trustees meeting on Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Ms. Pichetti.
Here.
Ms. Elder.
Here.
Mayor Gallo. Mr. Love.
Here.
Ms. McPherson.
Here.
Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Ms. Wiggum.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, certification regarding notice of meeting.
Mr. President, I advise that notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance and that all usual notification has been given to the media and other interested persons. All requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you very much. Next, we have approval of the minutes for the March 24th, 2026 annual meeting. Do I have a motion and a second for that? If there are no edits to the minutes as distributed?
Move to approve, Sleesman.
Second, McPherson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Next, approval of the minutes for the March 24th, 2026 board meeting. Do I have a motion and a second for those if there are no changes?
Move to approve, Sleesman.
Second, Love.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain. Pichetti.
Thank you so much. Next, we have public comment. Do we have any individuals in the audience that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir. Please come up to the podium. Trying to get back on time.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, my name is Kevin Hinkle. I'm a longtime Cleveland resident and a longtime RTA commuter. I want to make a little follow-up on about the candidate you endorsed for public mass transit, and I feel that feel it's very important that if when this candidate is elected, to sell their plan down to Columbus and come back to Cleveland here and sell their plan from the board and have them take a ride on these on the mass public transit here. They show them how very important it is, especially for Northeast Ohio and areas that are underserved and who depend on the most, because chances are that some of the commuters have to take more than one bus to get to where they need to go. So I want to tell you, and then continue to lay out their plans for the transit for underserved neighborhoods in Cleveland. And so thank you for listening to my plans, to my advice.
Thank you so much.
And we need public mass transit, especially for this area, because the people down in Columbus don't have a clue what goes on up here.
Appreciate your comments.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Do we have others in the audience who would like to speak?
Hello. Good morning. My name is David. I just wanted to bring to your attention that I ride the bus a lot, and I hear the audio displaying something about if anybody attacks the employees, and there's a certain thing they're trying to get people from attacking employees, I'm sure. And they're doing it a lot. And if I remember correctly, in the last maybe 3-4 months ago, they used to talk about attacking people who ride the bus too, and that they took that away. And I didn't like that they took that away, because I do have a little bit of well, whatever. I'd rather that not be taken away. Also, I think the customers are important too, to be protected and thought about. Also, one other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is about your the bus that goes around, the green bus, what they're talking about getting rid of. I think that it'd be very important that your group was able to at least keep one of them trolleys working, I mean, just one, there's only one, where's 3? And I think it's good for the city that somebody gets a little bit of free, because you don't really realize who needs what needs what. Mostly people stand up, or people stand up all the time, but there's a lot of people who won't talk for whatever reason. And I'm sure there's a silent majority out there with can use that service. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others in the audience that would like to make a comment? Yes. Is it, Raj, is it possible to get a microphone? Do we have one? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First of all, thank you for your service, everyone here, the ones behind the scenes. I appreciate all of you, and I thank you again for your service. As the weathers are changing, keep in mind the trees and everything and blossoming and stuff like that. Keep your mindset open to blossom too. Pass things forward. Be kind. Compassion. You don't know what journey someone is on. They're riding the service because they need the service. You may be out there and you need the service. You may not always be working here, but you'll need the service. Just keep in mind, be kind to people. It doesn't hurt. Whether you're here working, speak to someone. God bless each and every one of you. Have a blessed Mother's Day in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience? If not, we're going to go to anyone that might have called in. Brent?
We have no callers at this time.
Thank you. Web comments?
There are 3 comments submitted by web form. The first is Alex Johnson of Cleveland. Alex Johnson writes, as a frequent transit user here in Cleveland, I'm disappointed to learn about the service cuts which you are administering. These cuts will alter the quality of life of many residents and ultimately provide a temporary fix to a chronic problem. I encourage you to seek alternate sources of funding, just as other transit agencies have. We are counting on you. There's another one from David Akwar of Maple Heights, who is writing to speak against the proposed service reductions and writes that the best way to pass additional funding would be to propose a levy. The final comment is from Eric Stewart of Cleveland, who writes that RTA has a responsibility to the socioeconomic well-being of the public through the implementation of public transit. He lists a number of suggestions, and this will be in full in the board meeting minutes.
Thank you very much. Next, do we have any committee reports and items down through the Community Advisory Committee? Any recent meetings? Yes.
Hi, Trustee Elder. I'll just add that the next full CAC meeting is July 10th, but in the more immediate future, there is an ADA subcommittee meeting April 24th.
Do you know what time that is?
9 a.m.
Okay, great. That will be here? In
Yes.
the building? Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. Any other committee reports? Yes.
From the Compensation Committee. Thank you for the floor. As many of you know, there are 2 employees of the agency that report directly to the board. The first is Ms. Birdsong, and the second is Mr. Anthony A. Garofoli, our Executive Director of Internal Audit. In light of the financial circumstances, this is a little different than what we've done in the past, but the Compensation Committee prepared a report which we will submit into the minutes, but I thought I would read just a short portion of it for the record. The Compensation Committee is pleased to report that it has completed the review of the 2025 performance evaluation from Mr. Anthony A. Garofoli, Executive Director, Internal Audit. As part of this process, the Compensation Committee received and reviewed detailed performance evaluation scoring, as well as a summary of report of feedback and comments submitted by all board trustees. In addition, consistent with our annual evaluation process, we also reviewed both internal and external salary market data for Mr. Garofoli's position. In accordance with the management directives issued by the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority on November 14, 2025, regarding 2026 budget constraints, no merit compensation pool has been allocated for non-bargaining employees in 2026 based on 2025 performance. Accordingly, the Compensation Committee recommends that Mr. Garofoli not receive a salary increase for 2026 and that his current base salary remains at $170,727.19 for 2026. This recommendation is fully consistent with the GCRTA's 2026 budget constraints. We want to emphasize that this recommendation is based solely on current financial limitations and is not reflective of Mr. Garofoli's 2025 or overall performance. The Compensation Committee recognizes and appreciates Mr. Garofoli's significant contributions in 2025 and will be providing that feedback to him directly, which we have already done. So we thank Mr. Garofoli, and that concludes the Compensation Committee report for today.
Thank you very much. Any other committee reports? Okay, if not, I also have informal committee report from the floor from our legal counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, all. We received notification from the City of Cleveland this week reappointing two of our board members to the board, and they are Anastasia Elder and Jeffrey Sleesman, both reappointed to the board to full 3-year terms ending in March of 2029. They were sworn in this morning per request via a private session, but they're all good to go. We want to thank them for their continued service on our board. Thank you.
Currently, I know we have one vacancy. Currently, we have one vacancy. I believe you may have an update for us on that.
We do. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We have one vacancy, as mentioned by our president. That vacancy is filled by the City of Cleveland. We have also gotten a letter along with Trustee Sleesman and Trustee Elder. Congratulations again. We're happy to have you continue with us. And we will be adding one additional person. Her name is Emily Harper. She is currently a manager at the Federal Reserve of Cleveland. So we will onboard her hopefully in May here. We just got the announcement late last week. And our board liaison, Brent Charnago, has already reached out, and we're looking forward to be able to have her with us in May formally, and then we will begin her orientation in June. So congratulations to Ms. Harper. We have another Emily, so Emily will have to call you by your last name all the time. And we're super excited to be able to round out the board and fill the seat.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, I think we are down to introduction of new employees and announcements of promotions for Ida Marshall, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition. Welcome back.
Good morning, Board President Kumar, India Birdsong Terry, General Manager, CEO, and the entire board, and guests. Thank you. Today's presentation consists of promotions and first quarter retirees. Promotions are for those individuals blazing the trails, and the retirees are whose dedication and commitment and years of service have helped shape RTA. Welcome to each of you for taking time out of your retirement and joining us today with your family and friends. Okay, we're going to get started and congratulate Transit Police new sergeants. Is Jeremy Lavity, Transit Police Sergeant, and also Alexander McKinley, Transit Police Sergeant. Welcome them both to their newly positions. I know Chief is very happy. All right, yes, thank you. Now retirees, today we honor your service. We celebrate your accomplishments, and more importantly, we want to thank you for everything that you've done for RTA. I will call your names, and if you are present, please stand to be acknowledged, where Vanessa will give you your certificate. You will remain standing until the conclusion, and then we will escort you over to the red and white backdrop to take pictures with the board and the general manager and COO as well. Then I'll invite you over here to the podium to share some remarks, words of wisdom, and maybe a memorable story, okay? All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna pivot because I wanna shout out the years. We have Scott Clifford, schedule analyst, 48.6 years, and he's present. Thank you. Becky Joyner, Service Quality Supervisor at 31.30 years. She's not present today. We want to honor her. Robert Blaylock, Assistant Supervisor in the Rail Shop with 32 years. Yes. Also from the Rail Shop is John J. Jarellis, and he is here with 31.10 years with Connie representing. Okay. We have Ernestine Moore, Vehicle Servicer. She's not here with us today, but 29.7 years. Martin Fallhaber, Equipment Maintainer with 18 years. Yes. All right. So let's move into the operator category. We have Malachi Jackson, paratransit operator, 26.9 years. We have Carnell D. Simmons, paratransit operator, 7.9 years. Thank you. And we also have Carl Drake, paratransit operator, 22.6 years. All right. Okay. Couldn't be with us today, but Johnny Cunningham is dispatcher at 31.4 years. Thank you. And Cyril K. Finley, bus operator, bringing his family and wife Lisa, his son, and his daughter today at 27.3 years. Yes. And Barbara Hilliard, she's here, bus operator, 24.8 years. There. Alicia Johnson, bus operator, 19.9. Thank you. And also present today is Ray Allen Bissero, bus operator, 42 years, with wife Barbara Ann. Casper Pollard, bus operator, 25.6 years. Fred Pirazzoli, equipment maintainer, 37 years. Okay, rounding things out is Welbert Tucker Hostler, 31.5. And Kenneth Marcis, facilities maintenance crew leader, 26.40 years. Let's give them all a big thunderous round of applause. And then we will, Vanessa, if you want to escort them over to the backdrop and have some photos. Thank you, Doc. Okay, take her over there. And then you'll join me at the podium. I can get you some water, sure.
Want us all?
Okay. We're going to hear some words, please. Dave.
I just want to thank RTA for letting me be a part of the family for the 24 point. I forgot the end, but thank you.
My name is Cyril Finley, and I had a ball. All 27.3 years here, I really had a ball. I have nothing negative to say. I came in every morning with a big smile on my face. I spoke to everybody. It's always been that way. It's just part of my personality. And I really, really thank RTA. Love you guys.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to take RTA with my dad, and that's how I got introduced to it. And then when I was just out of high school, I got the job for RTA, 21 years old. And I've seen RTA go through a lot of challenges, or a lot of changes, and I've seen RTA develop, and just kind of hard to get the words. But I just want to thank RTA because I've learned my way around the city, and I've really developed over time. I'd like to thank Davita Banks, the transportation manager at Triscuit. She's always been very supportive. My wife loves her. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm glad to be here today.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. Happy Tuesday. Alrighty. To start off, my birth name is Fideli Perotzli, but known as Fred Perotzli through the authority for 37 years. I just wanted to give you guys a story about me, who I am. My mom and dad came from Foggia, Italy in the late 50s. They settled themselves here in Cleveland, Ohio at 65th and Lorraine. My mom and dad had 9 children. I was born May 16th of 1967 at St. John's Hospital on Detroit Avenue. I'm number 6 of the siblings. Grew up in Parma and graduated from Valley Forge High School in 1986. Married for 26 years, going on 27. I got 2 sons. One of my sons just started a job with a construction company where they do install utility lines. So I'm happy for him. That's my oldest. And then my youngest is a reserve Marine. He's also a paramedic and a firefighter for East Cleveland, and he went to Euclid. So right now he's at Euclid. So start off now. Alrighty. So back in 1988, I applied for the Greater Cleveland RTA. I hung in there and waited. Finally, I got a notice in 1989 for an interview. So there was a reason why I got 1,000 pieces of puzzles, and I'll share that with you guys in a minute. So anyway, so I got an interview, and I went down to CBMF, and there was a man named Win Tarrington, and he was like a grade 27, 28, Brian, something like that. So I'm at the age of 21. I'm excited. I was beginning with RTA. So Win Tarrington interviewed me and stuff, and he liked what I had to say to him. So he asked me this question. Is there any questions for me? And I looked at him and I said, how do you get fired from this place? This guy, eyes opened up, and Win Tarrington was a very stern, straightforward guy. And he goes, I'll tell you how to get fired from this place. He goes, you do drugs, you steal from me, or you don't show up for work, I'll personally fire you. So right there, that was the beginning of a journey and a foundation that I knew I was not going to do those things. So as time went on and stuff, I was assigned to a Brooklyn garage, which was the garage, that historical garage. I went to see the garage, but never started out that garage because that was the first garage that was getting renovated. So I got my foot in the door, but never started there. Well, I was told that I was going to be sent to Hayden. Well, 21 years old, where's Hayden? East Side. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go there. But the goodness of RTA, I'm going to share this with you, management actually worked with me. They allowed me to start at Triscuit, but the thing was, I had to give up my Brooklyn badge number to start at Triscuit. Fine? So we started at Triscuit, Brooklyn reopened, I went to Brooklyn. So time went on and stuff, I moved around to different districts, and came back to Triscuit now, where I finished. So the thing is that I want to share with you guys, this puzzle right here has 1,000 pieces. And everything in my journey is all of us in this box of pieces. Leadership, Ron Tolber, CEO, great guy. I felt good meeting him. Managers in the district, there was Jim Trout, I don't know if you remember Jim Trout. This guy was a strong person, and he kept me on the path by being obedient, doing the best you can. There was other people in my life too that really had an impact on me, giving me structure, stability. And so as we move on and stuff, I was doing the mobile unit for a long time, so I was dealing with the public and stuff. And the one thing that I was doing in my last months was I was greeting the public at East 6th and Rockwell and saying, good morning, happy Monday, Tuesday, and these people started giving it back to me. And this lady said, who are you? I said, I'm just a kind person showing the kindness. Well, you know what, guys? RTA has a logo. It says, share the love. And I don't know if you guys seen that logo that we have, share the love. I'm sharing the love without even knowing that we have this logo because RTA made me that way. It was like an automatic thing that what I was doing with the public, and I remember a time that the bus driver said, what are you doing? I said, I'm greeting the public. I said, why? I said, well, aren't we public transportation? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? So that's what we did. In leadership, I met India, and I love India. She's a people person, right down to the earth, made me feel comfortable. Everybody in the authority that touched me for 37 years made me feel welcome. There was a gentleman, and Brian Moore remembers him. I don't know how many people have been here, but his name was Doug Gandhi. He was a lawyer. I don't know if anybody remember Doug. In my 20s, I met Doug. Doug would invite me up in his office while I'm working on a mobile truck, and he would tell everybody, Fred's with me. And Doug always gave me that faith, that encouragement, and I felt welcome by him. I felt welcome by India. 37 years, guys, that's a long time. Not many people stay that long, and congratulations for anybody who stayed 40 years. There was a particular person at the district. This guy was one of the kind, and he's our foreman. And his name is Steve Yakowick. I don't know if anybody knows Steve. This is an individual of kindness, fairness. I seen and I witnessed with my own two eyes that Steve would have all the employees feel comfortable and welcome. And even when people had hard times, they would come to work because of Steve. When I walked the parking lot and I seen Steve's van not there and he's on vacation, I'm like, oh, you know what? Am I going to survive today? Not only did I feel like that, among all the employees felt like that too. And another good person is Brian Moore. And I met Brian, and there was so much out there, guys, and being part of this, and a lot of things I can tell you, it's like, you know, mind, spirit, and body, we have to have that, all of us. And this puzzle represents all of us. Every piece in here is us. To have these pieces of puzzles, you need to put it together to make a puzzle complete. To have this puzzle complete, you have to have the right combination. And we are the right combination. We are the Greater Cleveland RTA. And I just wanted to tell you guys this. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this. And I hope everybody continues and stay on your journey and your path. And thank you for listening to me, and I am Fideli Perazzoli.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just want to let you know, Fred, when I was started early on, I had an opportunity to participate in a recruitment event with you. You made me feel welcome, so I appreciate that. So thank you all to retirees. That concludes our presentation. You can stay and participate to the end, or you can go be retired again. That concludes our presentation. We'll do resolutions, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to resolutions at this point in time, and to formalize what we just saw and heard from our retirees, we have a resolution, Brett, 2026-22.
A resolution expressing congratulations to the employees of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority who retired during the first quarter of 2026.
Thank you. You've heard that resolution, and we really just appreciate everyone's longevity. It's pretty amazing. Emily and I were talking about the commitment we've had, collective number of years that just retired. Very impressive. Do I have a motion and a second for that resolution?
Motion Pachetti?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. 2026-23.
Approving revised list of positions designated to use purchasing cards.
Thank you. You've seen that update on the authorized users. If I could have a motion and a second for that?
Motion Pachetti?
Second, Mayor Weiss.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, or resolution carries. 2026-24.
Authorizing contract number 2025-164 with ADMJ Holdings, LLC, doing business as Advanced Door Company for overhead door repair services as specified and as required for a 3-year base period not to exceed $330,000 with 2 one-year contracts not to exceed $110,000 each for a total contract amount not to exceed $550,000. General Fund, Central Facilities, Maintenance Department budget.
Thank you for that. Do we have a motion and a second for that resolution?
Move to approve, Sleesman.
Second, Smith Wiggum.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. And finally, 2026-25.
Authorizing contract number 2026-004 with Standard Contracting and Engineering, Inc. for Hayden Garage Lift Replacement Phase 3, mobile wireless column lifts in an amount not to exceed $799,689. RTA Development Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department budget.
Thank you for that. We did have a presentation in committee on that and talked about the functionality that will continue to provide our maintenance team. So I would make a motion for that if there's a second.
Second, Love.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 2026-25 is also passed. Next, we have the Secretary Treasurer's Report from Raj Gotham, Deputy GM for Finance. Welcome back, Raj.
Mayor Kumar, members of the board, and those listening online, this is Raj Gotham. I'm the Deputy General Manager of Finance, here to present the Secretary Treasurer update for March and with some updates for April sales tax, as we routinely do. It's a pretty standard report. We start with reviewing the economic conditions under which we are working. The FOMC, as you may be aware, maintained the interest rates at 3.75% at their March 17th and 18th meeting. They do have another meeting that is scheduled for April 28th and 29th. Annual inflation rate, if we all remember, hit a high of 9.1% back in June 2022. In February of 2026, it had gone down to 2.4%, but it has risen to 3.3% in April 2026, nearly a percentage point gain over March 2026 level. We've started sharing the consumer confidence survey results conducted by the University of Michigan. Consumer sentiment did take a hit in March, showed decreases of over 10% in all classifications. Consumer sentiment month over month change showed a 10.7% decrease, year over year 8.8% decline. Current economic conditions during the survey showed a month over month decline of 10.2%, and consumer expectations month over month 10.8% decrease. Most of these declines are a result, and it started showing a decline with the start of the conflict in Iran. And all demographic groups and all components of the index, as you can see, have declined. Ridership through March 2026, we had roughly 2 million rides in March 2026. It was 4.2% lower when compared to 2025. Comparison to pre-COVID levels that you see on the right-hand side, 2019, we were at 7.7 million rides. On a year-to-date basis in 2026, that number is down to 5.5, representing a decrease of 2.2 million rides, or roughly 28%. Passenger fares, 13.1% below March 2025, and the reason largely is the same reason that I had offered last month. We had restructured one of the intergovernmental agreements with CMSD and how they paid. In prior years, they paid on a monthly basis. We negotiated and renegotiated that they paid 90% of the contract back in October 2025, so the month-to-month decreases will eventually catch up. But if we compare our passenger fares to the pre-COVID levels, once again, that information is on the right-hand side of the slide. In 2019, the passenger fares on a year-to-date basis were 9.4 million. In 2026, that number is 6.5 million, a 2.9 million decrease, roughly 30%. Sales tax for April came in at, wherever the number is, 20 point, I don't seem to have that number, but on a comparison to April 2026, they were 2.5% lower when compared to April of 2025. On a year-to-date basis, we are still 5.1% higher compared to the year-to-date 2025 numbers. No changes here. Selected data that we have previously reviewed. Long-term debt at the end of 2025 stood at 13.9 million. Our average investment yield on a year-to-date basis is 3.62%. Total cash and investments of 334.6 million, of which 28.9 million is in the unrestricted or the general fund, which is in excess of the 1-month operating reserve. With that, I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions from the board?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I just, as we see ridership dip a little bit, I always have this question, but it seems more important for me to understand now. The relationship between ridership and passenger fares, can you just help us understand why those, should we understand those, forget about month to month and all the changes and different agreements, but generally, would we expect those to move together? And if not, why not?
So you're absolutely correct, Ms. Pachetti. Yeah, there is a relationship, obviously. A bigger part of the reason why they could be different is timing differences, because we are reporting numbers on a cash basis. So if a UPass agreement, for example, that may pay on a semester basis and something, if that gets delayed from the month and into the next month, you'll see the ups and downs, etc. Same thing with the CMSD, even though this year we renegotiated that 90% payment and stuff, that is showing up when you compare the early part of 1 year when last year they were actually making monthly payments. So that's timing differences is largely the reason for those variances, but typically one would expect that if these were accrual basis numbers, that you would see a closer relationship. Having said that, I mean, if we look at when I just reported that the pre-COVID comparison, when you compare the data on ridership, we were down 28.6%. Passenger fares are roughly down 30.8%. So there is some similarity in there, and the difference is largely because of timing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Raj, question, and you may not have this at your fingertips, but if you could get it to us afterwards, if that's the case. Sales tax assumptions in the 26 budget relative to 25, are we showing it flat, a slight increase?
It was we had budgeted a 2% increase over 2025 levels.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, could you go back to the sales tax slide just to? Thank you.
You don't have this, because we've had some good months, so we don't have a year-to-date.
The green box on the top shows the year-to-date variance from 2026 to 2025.
Oh, there it is.
So we are 5.1% higher.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next, we have the General Manager's Report from India Birdsong Carey.
Good morning again. Good morning. Got some good news stories here for you. I will be going over the monthly report that I give from the General Manager's office. Okay, and we're going to go in chronological order. So if I seem to jump around a little bit, I'm trying to stay as close as I can to when things occurred, so you can get a flavor for how the month was, or the last 30 days were. We're going to start out a little bit earlier in the month of March to be able to kind of catch you back up with some of the things that have been going on regarding community engagement, especially when it comes to the next generation, what we view as potential next generation of transit professionals. We're bookending this report for me today. We'll start with the Hawken Mastery School, and then we're going to end with another STEM program, and it'll all come together for you in a bit. On March 6th, the Mastery School of Hawken visited the RTA. As you can see from behind you, you can see exactly where they were right here in the main office here. They presented mock design proposals, mock redesign proposals for 8 RTA Blue Line stations as part of a real-world engineering project. So it really gave them an opportunity to understand concepts regarding ADA compliance and preparing infrastructure for the next generation, including the railcar fleet. If you all are familiar with Hawken, they are one of the premier educational institutions in Cleveland and really have an eye toward the next generation of engineers and math and science, as well as a host of other applications. We have some of our parents in the room that have their own students here at Hawken, so it's nice to be able to really talk through some of the concepts that go into engineering for these students. This is part of our programming that we really appreciate the next generation of riders also giving us their feedback on what transit should look like, what it should feel like. And kudos to the engineering division. Todd Morrison, he's not in the room today, but he's one of our newer engineers by way of being a teacher. Really was able to dovetail some of his kind of safe spaces and areas of creativity with how we interact with the next generation. You'll find that through the ranks here in GCRTA, we have a lot of professors, we have a lot of folks that moonlight, a lot of folks that do pro bono classes, a lot of folks that teach accreditation, and it's nice to be able to see how that can dovetail into our everyday work effort here at RTA. All right. We also want to be able to pour into the women of RTA and the supporters of the women of RTA. So if you'll notice here in the photo, this is Elevating Women Together, otherwise known as EWT. There's a lot of acronyms. It's our ERG. That is our employee resource group. We have 4 of them, if you recall. This is one of them. This was our first that we had ever at RTA in recent memory. This is the 2026 EWT Annual Conference. It's become an annual event. I want to say this is the 3rd that we've had, and the space was AdCom, which was right down the street, which is our new marketing partner. You'll see in the photo that there are some men in there as well, and that's why I mentioned this is all-inclusive. This is not meant to be restrictive through this ERG. You have to be able to support the advancement and the development of women in any role at RTA, and so we have men and women all throughout the ranks to be able to support this effort. The sessions included navigating beyond the no, so really understanding how to find your voice when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to project management and development at work, and finding your strengths. I had the opportunity to be able to serve on a panel. It was a CEO panel, myself as well as Laura Kaprowski, who is the Toledo Area Regional Transit Authority, Toledo Transit CEO. And try these again. And it was moderated by Tasha Harris of Akron Metro. They did a phenomenal job. It was really fun. We were able to talk about our personal experiences in being, at some point, in some spaces, first-time women CEOs as well, and really just talking about the ups and downs of balancing life and all that comes with public transit careers. So congratulations to the team on that, particularly Davida Banks, Trisket Manager, Transportation Manager, and also Felicia Brooks-Williams, our OEO Compliance Manager here, Senior Manager at RTA. They really are the leaders of this particular conference and all of the supporters throughout the agency. Also, wanted to give an update on awards. We always appreciate any financial support that we can get and we can receive. This one in particular is the $125,000 TLCI. That stands for Transportation for Livable Communities initiative. This was bestowed upon us by NOACA. They're our local MPO, our Metropolitan Planning Organization. This will support our study of first last mile connections, and this is really studying the origins of transit patterns and travel throughout the community. NOACA will cover 100% of the cost, no local match is required, and this is really a way to support our planning initiatives so we can understand the travel patterns better of our community so that we can have the service match up appropriately. So we do appreciate NOACA and thank them for their continuous support. All right. Also wanted to just recap. We have Executive Leadership Retreat. Executive is a little bit of a misnomer. It's really the top 50 plus managers rank-wise in our authority, and plus those that are project manager specific for those impactful programs that are going on at RTA. We had a 2-day retreat at Corporate College East. We really like to be able to think about, in downtown as well, organizational awareness, and the themes of this year are goal setting and inspiring engagement. How do we work better as a team? Together we go farther. And then also studying emotional intelligence and how we're able to really understand both sides of the coin and understand the impact of the programs that we have. It's not it's a cyclical thing, and it changes by customer. We have to understand, we have to put ourselves in each other's shoes. We're very much a group of technicians, and sometimes we have to be able to pause and hear what the customer is feeling so that we understand the impact of our work spans beyond ourselves. So it was very engaging. We also had a little bit of a science fair of sorts at the end, which forced us to be able to work together. If you think of how Survivor works, and you think about being the last man standing and how to really pool your resources, we were engaged in an activity very much like that. And I think it brought out the inner child in folks, and it felt like a 5th grade science experiment, if I could kind of explain it in any way. But it was a great opportunity to team build at a low cost. Also, we always like to be able to think about strategy and funding. For this one, take these off. For this one, we really were able to bring our advocates. I usually talk about 2 advocacy teams that we work with that are external to RTA. One is Dickinson Wright, and they are our Columbus affiliate, if you think about it that way, for the legislative affairs. And we also have a Washington, D.C. affiliate, and that's what Van Scoyoc is, or VSA. So VSA was able to come here in person where they talked with the deputies, a few other folks in management and myself about specific priorities. And they're listed here on the slide, but really talking about how do we start to protect the investment of transit funding. How do we strategize and maneuver through some of the politics that are occurring in DC to make sure that we can also prove to be an economic driver for greater Cleveland while educating our partners in a way that continues the support on the financial side and also through the policy side. So that really was a helpful session, and we continue to engage with them as we keep moving through the turbulent waters for finance in public transit. On the heels of that, I was able to attend the American Public Transportation Association Legislative Conference. This is the APTA Legislative Conference. We determined whether or not we're attending this based on what we have on the agenda, quite frankly. The last time we attended this as a group was when we were going after the Railcar funding a couple years ago, which resulted in the $130 million check. Which we appreciate through our federal partners, and we continue to do this work. I was able to attend on behalf of RTA. Due to our travel sort of restrictions, I was able to do that and really understand what the update is. There have been several proposed budgets for transit that have significant reductions as it planned, not approved yet, as it pertains to capital investment, ADA, stations, as well as things that would fall under the rail car. So we are going to have a rail car update just to make sure that we can calm any fears that you may have on that project as well. We are on target, we are on budget, and we are on time. We want to make sure that we are giving you those updates as well. Just as an information item, I do serve again as the APTIF, that's the Foundation Scholarship Chair for this year, and it really is a pleasure to continue to serve in that capacity. If you recall, a few months back, there was an ambassadorial scholarship that was in my name with the goal of raising $100,000 through APTA for the end of the year. I do not solicit directly, putting my legal advisement on, but we are halfway to that goal to be able to flip that into an endowment that will support future generations of operational employees. So I'll continue to give you an update on that. Also, going in chronological order, April 17th, which was just last week, Trustee Pachetti and I were able to attend the Elevate Lifting Stories of Hope Gala. That was held at the Intercontinental. It's for the City Mission, if you're familiar with their work. They do amazing work to be able to help folks transition, sometimes from homelessness to housed, sometimes from unemployed to employed, and sometimes with folks that are just coming on hard times to be able to really understand the strength and the power of belief and faith to be able to get them to the next step. GCRTA really does work with them to be able to transport some of these folks on our system. They pay normal fare, but are able to be able to utilize our system as a mechanism to get from one place to another. So great work to the folks at the City Mission. It was a really nice night. Ms. Pachetti, I don't know if you had any comments. I don't want to skip over your engagement there.
I just really appreciate the engagement between RTA and some of these service agencies that serve the lower income communities. I think it's really important, and they do make up a significant share of our riders. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. Beautiful night, and I will say they had quite a bit of support from the community there as well. All right, we also had quite a few public hearings. This one is a little out of order because we had a few dates here. So April 13th through the 16th, right in this room, we had public hearings on proposed service reductions. This is just a recap for those who may not have been able to be in attendance. We did have several board members who were in attendance. We appreciate your time and being able to hear from our community. A lot of concerns were about the Beeline trolley, and you heard that this morning from a few folks as well, for that discontinuation and then some of the frequency reductions. I will say that the media coverage that they had was also covered a rally of sorts or a march that were down here downtown as well. It really turned out to be a positive thing, if I can say that, to be able to say, hey, we support you, RTA. We hope that you can find a solution. We want to make sure that you're financially stable, but please do everything you can to retain the service. And I think that's pretty typical when it comes to customers who rely on us. So it did not fall on deaf ears. We appreciate the work that's being done, particularly the CPT community, the Clevelanders for Public Transit. They're a very loud voice in a positive way. I think that they are working with us in ways that we have not seen in previous years, so I appreciate the leadership of CPT to be able to voice their opinion, and we'll continue to engage them. All right, at this point in time, excuse me, I do have a couple slides here. Brian Moore is going to come up and help me through this, and then if Flance Caver also may have some additional comments. I wanted to introduce and embarrass a little bit our former commissioner of the rail cars. And so this is Jack Barnett. So before we start, Jack, true to form, you don't always get the notice, but if you wanted to introduce yourself in your new role, I think that's important.
Good morning, everybody. As India mentioned, Jack Barnett Jr. I will be the Deputy Project Manager of Commissioning for the rail cars. I'm honored and excited to be a part of this project as well as this team. Looking forward to the work ahead of us and what this fleet is going to mean for the community as well as the organization and its employees.
Appreciate it. Jack is a rail transportation manager out at Rail. As we always say, we like to be able to have our talent homegrown when at all possible. And Jack, how long have you been with the authority?
29 years.
29 years. So we do not have a rookie in this seat. And wanted to make sure that you were able to put a face to the name. When you hear that name, as far as commissioning those cars, he will be known as the commish until we can get through this project. So we appreciate him, and we appreciate Sean Thompson, who is the director of rail, for loaning him out on this process. Flance likes to loan people through operations. That's a typical thing that is through the transit authority, and this is really an opportunity, I think, for folks to become problem solvers. I definitely appreciate that strategy. I think that it allows for homegrown talent through the veins of the authority, and we're very excited to have Jack in this role. So we promised before that we would continually give you incremental updates whenever there was anything significant going on with the Railcar project. I thought that this was a good inflection point to be able to do that. So I'm going to ask Brian Moore, who is the project manager for Railcar replacement, to come up and give you a little bit of an update as to where we are. There is a little bit of an adjustment in schedule, and I want to make sure that you're aware of that date as well, and as to the reasons why we are where we are as far as the process. We also had a trip that was taken last week with a couple of the folks on that project team to be able to kind of check the progress. And so anytime we send folks out to do that, wanted to give you an update as well. So Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the board. My name is Brian Moore. I'm the program manager for the Railcar replacement. Just looking at the budget, this was the budget that was approved May of 2025, so nothing's changed there. Vehicle acquisition is about $380.7 million. The design and inspection and testing is about $6.4 million. Existing infrastructure upgrades are around $33.5 million. Project administration is $300,000. Thank you. The force account is at $12.7 million, and that leaves us with an unallocated contingency for anything that comes up that we haven't accounted for is $16.3 million. And again, the overall program budget is $450 million. As Ms. Birdsong Terry said, last week we traveled out to Siemens Mobility to do some inspections, take a look at work that was going on. It was Michael Shipper, DGM of Engineering, went out with us. And then we have Casey Blaze, who's the Deputy Project Manager for equipment. And then Johnny Gillis, who's one of our QA specialists, and myself went out to take a look at some items. And so now I'll get into what our proposed schedule modifications are. The first 3 vehicles will be delayed because of manufacturing issues. So those issues, it's a good thing they're getting resolved at the factory so that when the vehicles come, we won't have to then try to resolve those issues here. But it will be delayed. The first car is expected in early fall of 2026. So a little bit of a delay. And then the conditional acceptance of the 24th vehicle which was impacted by the installation of CAD AVL, which is something that benefits us. So the 24th car is now expected early fall of 2027. And none of these schedule modifications are expected to impact the opening of Red Line, which is the summer of 2027. So we should still be on track for all of those items. Now what I'd like to do is just go through a few of the pictures. At first, I'm going to go from left to right. That first slide there shows Mike Shipper, Johnny Gillis, and Casey Blaze looking at drawings, and that piece of steel that you see in front of you is one of the trucks or the bogies for the new rail cars. Then moving to the center, we've got right there in the forefront of the shot is one of the powered bogie sets. So that's the wheels that have the motors. So you can see that one has Cleveland on it, and they were in the process of assembling those. And then you can see to the far right there, you've got Casey in that picture with the assembled axle sets with a brake rotor in the center. So just to give you some context of what you're looking at. A lot of what we did was focused in on bogies, but we did look at car shell and some other items. You can see going again from left to right, the bogie press. So what that is it's a machine that pushes down on the actual frame, and it seats these rubber bushings. They're called chevrons, but it seats those into the axle housing there. In the center, you can see car shell 5A and 5B. It's in the assembly area, so getting ready to get married, so they have to finish some other work inside, and then they'll join the two pieces together, and they call that being married. And then you can see over here, again, the far right, you've got car shell 14A, so I think we're up to car shell 15. So we've got quite a few vehicles that are in some part of manufacturing, and we were able to take a look at all of them. And with that, turn it back over.
You might want to hang around a minute. Just wanted to pause right here if you had any questions. And then also, we can give a quick update, if desired, about the operational impact of the 54 cars. I know we had some questions on that individually, so I'm seeing the head nodding, so I'm going to ask Flonse Caver to give an update.
Thank you, Ms. Terry, Mayor Kumar, members of the board, members of the public. I am Flonse Caver, the Chief Operating Officer here at the Greater Cleveland RTA. And I want to go through just a question that has continued to be asked, and it is, if we buy 54 cars, do we have enough cars to operate the system? So I'll start with that as the question. I'll provide a bit of a history. When we started this program in about 2018, we had about 75 cars on property. Those 75 cars were not all working, but they were 75 cars. And our original program was to replace those 75 cars with 60 cars. The replacement of those 75 cars with 60 cars would have allowed us to have a spare ratio that would have ensured that the community would never have had to buy a new car. And so we really envisioned this as a one-time generational purchase of vehicles. And those 60 cars would have been that one-time generational purchase. When we started the program and started the discussion, some of, maybe not many of the board members here, but some would have remembered a number of 240 million as a beginning of a program. Then we were about 300 million, and now we're at $450 million. And so earlier this year, when the federal policy choices by the president created the risk of tariffs, the program with other worst-case scenarios would have ballooned to approximately $475 million. We do not plan to come back to the board to ask for any additional money outside of the 450. But let me move to sort of the operational question, and I'll just answer it from an operational side, not a financial side. On a typical weekday, I operate 8 red line blocks or trains. Those trains are made up of 2 cars. And so there are 16 red line cars operating through the system. On that same typical day, there's a bit of a modification now because of some of the track construction that's happening in Tower City. But on an average typical weekday, we operate 5 one-car light rail trains that come from Shaker, the blue and green lines. When we have our current system running, we do not have capacity constraints. And so the 2-car trains are not filled, and the 1-car light rail trains are not filled. So we have excess capacity. But to give you the understanding of what the daily vehicle requirement is, the daily vehicle requirement is 8 red line trains with 2 cars, that's 16 cars. And then I have 5 blocks of light rail cars, which are 1. So I have 16 on the red line, and on the blue and green line, I have 5 for a total of 21 cars on a typical day. As a rail system, one of the benefits of our rail system is that, yes, we have our normal typical day, but we also have to be able to supply service for our major sporting events and other events downtown. So I'll take you through how we staff our heaviest ridership days, which are the Cleveland Brown Sundays and St. Patrick's Day. On those days, so let's take a regular Cleveland Brown Sunday. On a regular Cleveland Brown Sunday, I still have 8 trains on the heavy rail system on the red line. And I increase capacity on those by operating a 3-car unit instead of a 2-car unit. So I need 24 cars on the red line. On a regular Sunday, I have to send trains into the waterfront to drop the customers off to their final space. And so I operate 6 light rail trains leaving Shaker. And those 6 light rail trains are 1-car train. On the waterfront line, now, this is to take people from Tower City to the waterfront, to the Brown Stadium. I operate between 3 and 4 2-car trains, and let me tell you why I have to operate the system that way. The 3-car trains and the load of the 3-car trains are largely West Side customers. So the 3-car capacity is used on the West Side. When the train is on the East Side, it doesn't need 3 cars. So from riders going further east when it leaves Tower City, the train is a regular Sunday crowd, and the red line crowd coming in from Windermere is a regular Sunday crowd. But when the crowd comes from the west side, just call it Brook Park and the other west side stations, they have to get off of that train, and then I have to supply a train to carry them into the waterfront. Remember, there's a 3-car train coming. So I have to meet that train with a 2-car train to carry them because there's not enough room for them on the Shaker train. And I'm looking, but I want to make sure I'm moving slow enough to explain it. So I have a 2-car train that comes and sweeps them away. And then I have a regular 1-car train that comes and can pick up other stragglers or people who may just be leaving. But on that waterfront, on that Browns game, I have 8 3-car trains, 15-minute service on the west side, 6 1-car trains from Shaker, and 4 2-car trains that operate in the waterfront. We call them waterfront shuttles or red line shuttles, and that's a total of 38 cars. When we purchase 54 cars, we're able to have 16 extra cars or 42% spare factor. So 16 cars can be in the shop or doing something else. But let me talk about future state, because some of the questions that are asked are, well, are you neglecting the ability of the system to grow? Would 54 cars inhibit the ability to grow? So I want to go back to a foundational discussion, and then I'll use a theoretical expansion. On a regular weekday, 8 cars run every 15 minutes. On the red line, 5 cars run every 30 minutes from Shaker and every 15 minutes between downtown and Shaker Square. If I were to double the frequency, think of a rail system as a carousel. There's 8 cars to go around 8 trains to go around the red line system every 15 minutes. If I wanted to go every 7.5 minutes, I'd need 16 trains. Okay? However, I don't have a capacity issue. So if I wanted to run the system every 7.5 minutes, I could do so by putting 8 additional trains into the system so that we could split those headways, but they would only need to be 1 car because I don't have a capacity issue. If I wanted to run every 15 minutes from the ends of the shaker line, I have 5 now, which means I leave every 30 minutes. If I wanted to run every 15 minutes, I need 5 more, and now they would come every 15 minutes. If I were to theoretically double all of the current service, I would need 8 2-car trains on the current 15-minute red line. That would be 16 cars. If I added 8 other red line trains to split the headway to make the train come every 7.5, I would not need 2 trains. So I would need 8 1-car trains. And I can offer the 1-car train because the new train that I have does not have an odd marrying component. I can just send 1 heavy rail train. So that would be 16 plus 8. And then to double a light rail team, we would have 10. So it would be 34 cars. If I had that and doubled all of the service, I would need 34 cars. I would purchase 54. I have 20 cars available. However, in that theoretical example, I do want to tell you that I don't have a demand, and certainly we would not have a demand in the near term to increase the entire red line to be 7.5 minutes, right? We don't have a capacity issue, and we don't have a ridership issue that would drive that. But if we were to look at times in our service where we have had 7.5 minute service, in our history, we've had it by operating a train from the airport to Tower City only, right? So if you kind of remember, there were these Brook Park trains that would operate from Tower City. And the track is, if you're in Tower City, there's a middle track that stops. It's called 10 West, where the train could come in and go back out west. So I want to then talk about a more realistic scenario that we would have, and we would be our successors. And so as one of my colleagues who is an advocate for more than 54 cars says, and I understand the argument, right? The argument is, hey, there may only be this one time to buy these cars, and let's buy them now. But from an operational standpoint, I want to tell you that the organization would have the extra cars for things, and things happen. We've had cars get into car accidents, cars in Shaker hit our train. We've had other types of things. But let me tell you how a more realistic service growth. If I were to send every train from Shaker Heights to the airport, currently the train goes from Shaker Heights to Tower City. There's 5 trains needed. If I were to send all of those trains to the airport, I would need another 5 trains. Just think it's about double the length, right? And I can keep the same headways on the Shaker portion. But here's what would happen. Because the line on the heavy rail line runs every 15 minutes, when I send the Shaker train west, if our successors were to choose that, then the west side would get every 7.5 minute service, right? There's 8 trains on the system, approximately 4 of them are on the west side and 4 on the west side. If I send 4 more trains to the west side, it would give us 7.5 minutes. So if I were to have every train go to the airport, I would need 16 trains on the red line and 10 trains on the light rail for a total of 26. I would have 54 trains. That would give me 28 extra cars, or on that system, I'd have about 100% spare. Now, we do need spares. And we do have to be able to always deliver the special events for this community. We do have to be able to deliver when we need to go to St. Patrick's Day, certainly when the Browns win the Super Bowl, and when the Cavs won the Super Bowl. The transportation was a major way, and we have to be able to deliver that service. But I also want to talk to you about a change that is going to be beneficial for RTA. So I have to create another rail line when the Browns are playing in the waterfront. However, when the Browns move to Brook Park, it becomes easier for me to operationally service it because it's on a linear line that's already on a train. So I already have my largest ridership on the red line on the west side, right? The west side individuals are taking the train into Tower City. So if and when the Browns move to Brook Park, I can have 8 cars running every 15 minutes, which is what I currently do to bring those people downtown. But I also can create systems where I add additional cars to be able to take the load. And here's how loading and timing happens for me. I'll start with the waterfront line, and then I'll move us in a discussion to what will happen at Brook Park. So after a Browns game, everybody comes out at the exact same time. The regular service that would be in the waterfront, if we didn't have it, would just be one train every 15 minutes coming from Shaker. However, it would take me too long to get the people out. They wouldn't want to wait. And so I have these red line shuttles. We are able to clear the waterfront line, the West 3rd Street station, in approximately 45 minutes to an hour. And in order to do that, I'm running a train out of there every 7.5 minutes. Pretty much, I have trains lined up near Muni Lot, and we're just shooting their people out to get them out. The base blocks, which are the trains that will go all the way to Shaker, are 1-car trains. And we have 2-car trains to take what we call red line shuttles. So we tell the people, if you're going on a red line, you catch this train because it will not go past Tower City. It will run a loop back into the waterfront. And we're able to do that with about 7 trains. And that's 7 trains, approximately 4 of them are 2-car trains, and then approximately 3 of them are the base blocks. After that, the crowd is gone, right? We have taken all of the people away. We certainly will get loads, and if someone were to ask me what they would look like, it would be similar to what we have in the waterfront. But I want to share with you one of my constraints for the waterfront. In the waterfront, I can only carry 2 trains. The train can only be a 2-car unit. However, when we go to the Brown Stadium in Brook Park, I can now carry 3 cars. 3 cars is the max that I can carry. And so after a Browns game, I can have and will have, or my successor will have, and Joe's successor will have, 3-car units ready to move people and take them eastward. I can sit one of those cars in the airport. So just think the people are at the Brook Park Station. The regular train that comes will take the people towards the west. And then we'll have an extra train that can take the people towards the west. And I would probably only need approximately 3 more 3-car units. It would be less cars necessary than it would be for the current process that I have. And so what I want to share with you is that 54 cars does allow us to grow. 54 cars does allow us to operate in the near future. And we are confident, I am confident as the Chief Operating Officer, and recognize that other people may have other thoughts. But as the Chief Operating Officer, that 54 cars will adequately service this community and allow the community to grow, allow it to develop new routes, and allow it to effectively service its major events that it must do for the community members. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you. That was so thorough. So it sounds to me, obviously, with the 54 cars alone, we'll have enough to to do our existing service and grow in the near future. Forgive me if I missed this, but how many then do you anticipate having for spares in the event that we have those car accidents or other accidents that may hit the system?
Yeah. So on our largest date, on our largest current strategy, on our largest date, we'd have 16 extra cars in the system.
Okay. And from your perspective, those 16 spares is adequate to account for the possibilities?
Yeah, so let me give you, and that's a good question, so let me give you another piece of information. Today, I'm going to start today and then I'll describe today, Casey, who's the boss of the equipment, has 57 cars.
57
trains.
Okay.
He has 57 trains. And today, he had 16 cars down. They were in the shop for some reason. Not all of them were, Casey wants to talk about the number of cars?
For a second.
Okay.
Doc, we don't go anywhere, but I just want to interrupt for a moment. Casey Blaze is the rail expert, I guess you want to call it. I don't know what you're, officially the manager there at Rail, but I want him for equipment. I want him to just explain the answer to your question, Ms. Elder, because we get into a little bit easier of an answer to explain how many normally go down for inspection, repairs, that kind of thing, so that you can explain the numbers.
All right. Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the board. My name is Casey Blaze. I'm the Deputy Project Manager for the Railcar Replacement. I'm also the Rail Equipment Manager. So just to answer your question, it's really unpredictable for accidents.
Sure.
They happen, right? So, but on a normal day, we anticipate 4 cars to come down for inspection. So every 30 days, the cars have to come in for inspection. And then we also have a wash frequency, and that's every 19 days, that will take vehicles out of service for wash. And that's approximately 3 per shift, and we have 3 shifts. So that would leave us enough spare to tow cars back. So if we have a breakdown on the system, you have to tow with like power. So if we have a 3-car set, we need a 3-car tow unit to go out and bring it back. So
Can I ask you a clarifying question?
Sure.
So the rate that you just spoke about for the trains that go out for either washing or inspection, do we anticipate that same process happening with new rail cars?
Yes.
Okay. So that answers, I guess, my first question. My second question, and I don't know who this might be most appropriate for, but in light of us only going with the 54 cars, do we have a communication plan in place to get that information out? Because I think that maybe the public is anticipating that it was going to be something else, and now it will be this. So I'm just interested in what that looks like.
So I appreciate, we've got also Natoya, so Natoya, grab a mic and be on standby. The communication to the community is replacement of the rail car fleet. And so the 50, but it's a good question. The 54 to 60 is really an internal discussion item. And also, we have it on applications for funding, right? But we've talked about that we have sort of nabbed the majority of the funding that we need, and that's not rail car number specific. There's an intent that's there for sure. So when we say 60, that was the most that we could pay for and that we would garner to be able to create the biggest spare ratio for future expansion. But now that we're in more in the political and financial, and that's why I asked Flance to go into the operational, right? The conversation is we have to also kind of go with the flow as it comes with the funding constraints that come down through tariffs that are an unknown, and also some of the financial constraints that we have currently to make sure that we don't go over the $450 million budget that we gave to the board. So although we have the 60 in narrative internally and through those processes, 54 allows us the most cushion without guarantee. And then also 54 is the operational number that we can operate with. So we have not had a campaign media-wise to say 60 is the number, right? Because we can still replace the service and we can still grow with expansion even within the 54. So it really comes down to the conversations we have with our financial partners to be able to amend that. And quite frankly, just came from DC, there's so many adjustments being made nationwide for these programs through capital investment. There's whole subway projects, not to compare us with others, but there's lawsuits going on where billions or millions of dollars are being rescinded in totality due to external items that aren't necessarily operationally sound. So the better that we can be in a position, excuse me, to operate fully and also expand into the future and still be confident that we can complete the project at 450 million, that's where the 54 comes.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And while I also appreciate that the conversation of 54 versus 60 has been, using your words, internal, I think that I still want us to be thinking about how it is still external information, how we are still in this meeting and every other meeting talking about these things. So although we may not have launched a full-blown communication, strategy, if you will, people are looking at us and people are paying attention. So I just want us to be prepared to have a response when and if we get the questions asked.
Absolutely, and I'm willing to take the question. I've had several conversations with media outlets, formally and informally. That is the recommendation of the 54. That is what we have under contract, and that's what we're moving forward with. The 60 is not recommended for us at this time. Understanding that, there's always an opportunity to order more, but that incurs a cost of restart-up, usually to the tune of about $3 million plus. But at this point, I would not be able to stand in front of you and recommend 60, understanding of the financial situation we're in, along with the operational analysis from the operators of the rail car that confirm that we can continue with 54. But I understand your point, and we'll make sure to have those talking points ready and for the board as well.
I would also add that in addition to everything that India has said and everything that Doc has said, even based on today, 57 trains with 16 down, that's a third down. So by having 54, we have expansion because they're brand new. Not only do we have that expansion because they're brand new 54 cars, it's a one car versus a 2 car, which means that operationally they'll be able to send the trains to more places, ideally, right? And less stops along the way, for example, going to the airport as opposed to having to come down to Tower City to transfer to get a train. So we have growth irrespective of the number, but we will communicate that and convey that in all documents that we push out, even as we talk about our financial situations and the critical analysis that have gone into the decision-making for the purchase of the 54.
And I'll just add, thank you, Natoya, I'll add one additional thing. We'd love to be able to provide service for the next 3 and 4 generations of ridership for Cleveland. We can only do what we have the capacity to do. And so I want to make sure that we also are taking a very conservative approach. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars here, and we have to be able to balance that with the ability to continue bus service, to continue paratransit service, to continue all of the other mechanisms. Rail is a different funding mechanism, we understand that, but we also understand that there's only so much within the well as far as money to go around from a national standpoint. And so we would like to be a little bit conservative with making sure that we have contingency available for those small blips. We just gave you a blip on the radar now, 3-month delivery delay because of an issue that came up that largely was software related, and some change orders that may come down the pike for pure parts and manufacturing, I'm sorry. So we want to make sure, and those things do happen. I have gone through this in other agencies through the rehabilitation and purchasing of previous rail cars that were not spanking new. And there are absolutely 100% guarantee of delays for different things to come, and we have to get through 54 of those cars from across the country. So I would be remiss to think that this will be a perfect process. Great questions, though. This is fantastic, and I appreciate the debate on all sides, because I think we have to look at that, and I think it's valid points across the board. But decisions are hard, and this is the one that we've made.
Just one quick question, Doc, and just a simple range, but on average, given the maintenance schedules of the trains, how many are in for maintenance on average at the 55th Rail Yard as part of that? Because obviously you've got to schedule it offline. I know it varies and that's fine. I'm just, goes to the capacity question that I think you heard.
This is Casey Blaze again. Yeah, so for inspection, we have 4 cars per day. And then with the older vehicles, they're less reliable, so they come down for maintenance quite often. So it's hard to say defects, how many we have, but it's a full shop. Yeah.
And if I can add just another piece to it, and so those maintenance cars, so the rail system has a more stringent maintenance procedure because it's a rail car. So he said he's calling cars in. The cars that he's calling in are working, right? And so if we have St. Patrick's Day in the middle of the week, it's a Tuesday, or the Browns game is on a Sunday or Thursday night, what Casey does is sends the working car out, right? The one day isn't going to be. And so we are able to meet the need of the capacity bump, but that capacity bump that we have is, in our community, largely driven by sporting events and St. Patrick's Day. And so throughout a year, there is 8, and just say probably 8 to 10 if you count the playoffs for Browns games and St. Patrick's Day, plus a few others, major concerts or things of that nature.
I have a question. I'll try to make it as straightforward as possible. And then I have a comment. My question is, what is my understanding from staff last year was that there is some like state or federal guidance about the excess spare ratio. What is that? And am I understanding correctly that you feel like in 10 or maybe 20 years, we would still be able to meet that spare ratio with the 54 cars?
Okay, let me make sure I'm answering your question. So I'm going to restate the question. The question is there a minimum or maximum spare ratio?
So I can just jump to my comment.
If that's go to the helpful. Comment and I'll try to answer the question.
Okay, so, and I think this colors a lot of what I feel like is the board's, we don't question your calculations, I don't believe. I mean, everything you explain to us makes sense. So if you would come to us and tell us we really need 74 cars or we really need 30 cars, like we're there with you. But
yeah,
I think through the course, especially given the budget that you showed us and presented is from May of 2025. At that time, we were having discussions about 60. And I remember asking staff, why 60? Are we sure we need 60? Why not 58? Why not 56? And so we had these discussions, and they sounded different than the one we're having today. And so I think we just want to be sure that we understand why the changes. And one of the justifications I heard from the 60, again, going back about a year now, maybe even less than a year, was that there was a spare ratio that was recommended by either some body of government or guidelines, and maybe that's incorrect. So I just wanted to clarify that there isn't this recommended ratio, and I want to be sure if there is that we're keeping within it, if that makes sense.
I appreciate the question. I'm going to ask Brian Moore to give the response regarding the spare ratio. And I'll just mention that there is, on the bus side, there is typically a recommended spare ratio that's been a matter of debate in the transportation industry nationwide for decades. And that is always discussed usually at almost like a national transit database level as well as the Federal Transit Authority. And that usually also, it's a recommended guideline, but that's on the bus side. For rail, there are different guidelines that manage, for example, and I'm going, sorry, Brian, go with 1 second, go into a little bit of semantics as far as even how long an operator can be out on the street. Bus and rail are two different animals within transit. You would think that they are one and the same, but they're not typically when it comes to the rules and regulations is to contingency, spare ratio, hours of service, rest periods, and the like. And this is where you get into a lot of the detail between the two. So I am going to ask Brian Moore to give an update on the spare ratio requirement on the rail side.
Again, my name is Brian Moore. If it was described that way, I apologize that it was presented, but according to FTA guidelines, and I don't have the specific section, because of the specialized nature of the trains and how much it takes to procure them, there is no spare ratio for rail cars. As Ms. Birdsong Terry said, it does exist on the bus side.
Okay. We always want to be thorough, so please take this to be a positive thing. And if I have the subject matter experts with me, I'm going to pull them up. So I'm going to ask Tony Garofoli from the audit side. He's actually pulling up the CFR right now, or if I'm not, sorry, not the CFR, but the oversight guideline for the Federal Transit, so he can confirm the item as well.
Tony Garofoli, Internal Audit. The Oversight Procedure 37 is the Fleet Management Plan Review put out by the US DOT Federal Transit Administration. And the answer is that there is no recommended spare ratio. It's customized for each agency based upon their operations.
Appreciate that. And sometimes there is, and we'll check back through our presentation materials to make sure that we didn't lead you down the wrong path as far as education about this process. But this is why I think it's really important, and this is an education process for everybody, right? But there are very different mechanisms between bus and rail. And sometimes there are misnomers or assumptions made between the two lines of business, and it's typical. I've seen it happen time and time again. But as a student of those regulations, we have the same issues that get into charter service and things why we can't, have shuttles and jitneys and all of that. There's a whole book put out guidelines by the FTA that usually are studied by transit planners, service demand management professionals, as well as operational folks that have to make sure that we're in compliance so that we're not in violation through the triennial process, which is the every 3 years when the feds kind of come in and check through all of our records. So that's why I always want to make sure that our audit can confirm those ideas for us to make sure that we're not doing things erroneously. But for the layperson, there is usually a crossover that's misinformed about what the guidelines are, and sometimes that happens, so I want to make sure that you have the right information. So we apologize if we led you down the wrong path, but that's the accurate statement. There is no spare ratio recommended for rail.
Just thank you for that. I think, like you said, we're all learning together, and we want to, I want to be sure I understand correctly when I hear explanations from staff too. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I think as we move forward, let's just continue to stay in communication about the progress. I know, again, the budget, I still, the one shift that I heard from Dr. Kaver, that has happened in other than budgeting woes in the last 6 months was this kind of re-envisioning of where our cars will need to be when. And so that's helpful to know that we have kind of the shift away from the water line to the Brook Park that might be helpful in helping balance out the count. So that is also introducing another variable that we didn't have maybe a year ago. So just thank you and appreciate the thorough presentation.
Thank you. So team, I appreciate it. All right, I have one more thing. I'm going to zip through this. Charles, I may need some assistance with the video. Not sure how we're doing it. Okay. All right. Last slide, promise from me. Onto a little bit of a lighthearted bookend. I promised you a bookend at the beginning of my presentation. Here it is. This is regarding kind of connecting back to the community. And this is apropos, I think. We talked about being able to kind of serve the future generations of public transit through rail and bus. Well, this is part of it as well, is the Cleveland Student Technical Enrichment Program, otherwise known as STEP. If you remember the first slide, I talked about Hawken Mastery School and how we talked through kind of hearing back from students and seeing how they could see themselves working for a place like RTA. We also did the same thing. This is an initiative in grades 6 through 9, and it's led by the City of Cleveland Water Department as well as the Sewer District. So in this particular program, it was activities in the STEM area of the business and of the education cycle. It was led by Human Resources, Transit Police, and Engineering. I wanted to make sure that you could see this because it was really kind of cool, in my opinion, that the program through STEP actually created a video for the parents of the students that were participating in this program so they could actually see and hear their experiences and what they thought, right? Theme of the day, what they thought was true was actually a little different when they got into the nuts and bolts of creating the system themselves, which is really nice because we're able to kind of bring people into what we do on a daily basis. So I'm going to attempt to play the video and we'll see how it goes.
And I'm back with our final field trip of the season with none other than the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority. When we arrived, students were met with a warm welcome and introduction from RTA representatives, including engineers, Human Resources, and the Transit Police. Students learn about RTA's mission and values, career opportunities, and both the history and future of the organization, along with how STEM plays a critical role in daily operations.
So STEM is important it's the foundation for how we do what we do. If we want to rebuild a station or just make sure that the train can stay on the rails, even when we're putting together timetables for our bus routes, we need to use science, technology, engineering, and math. And now with the incorporation of public art, we're getting STEAM involved as well.
After the presentation, students took part in 2 hands-on activities. One group started with an engineering challenge, where they were tasked to build the tallest structure using Play-Doh, wood pieces, and rubber bands to help them understand the design process. Meanwhile, the other group participated in an activity with Transit Police, exploring how STEM is used in investigations and operations. Once everyone had the chance to experience both activities, we came back together for a final recap. Students shared key takeaways, favorite moments, and asked thoughtful questions.
The most interesting thing I learned today was that there's like police officers that go undercover, and I didn't know that. I thought they just wait until something bad happened. I also didn't know there's going to be drones there because I thought there was just going to be radios and cameras. But they actually have drones because if something bad happens outside, like if someone's trying to steal a car, then the drones can sense that and then someone can go there right away.
RTA representatives also recognized students for their engagement, highlighting Elijah and Aditi for their active and eager participation throughout the day. We wrapped up with inspirational words from the team. Each student received a goodie bag to celebrate their contributions. To top it all off, we ended our final host visit with a special treat from Insomnia Cookies. It was the perfect way to end the session. Thank you to the Greater Cleveland RTA for showing us how STEM supports and powers our city's public transit. We will see you next time for the final session of the season.
Awesome. So that was the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And we're just trying to also document what we're doing out in the community so we have good sound bites to be able to pepper through our community so folks know what's going on here doesn't stop in the building walls. It goes out into the educational systems as well. So that concludes my report. Went a little longer than expected, but hopefully you got what you needed as far as information. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Given the time, I have no president's report. Do we have any old or new business? If not, we're going to move to executive session to enable the board to conference with GCRTA attorneys for information gathering, fact-finding, to receive legal advice regarding safety, and also to review under personnel, to review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of employment. Could I have roll call, please? Or a motion? Do I need a motion first? Make a motion is second.
Second, Pachetti.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Ms. Pachetti,
Yes.
Ms. Elder,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Ms. McPherson,
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman,
Yes.
Mayor Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Wiggum.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Of executive session.
Motion, Sleesman.
Second love.
You need the mic.
Second love.
Okay, all in favor?
Do we have the roll call?
Aye.
Yeah, if we did a roll call going into executive session, probably should be one coming out.
Okay, okay, Brent, go ahead with the roll call.
Yeah. Ms. Pachetti,
Yes.
Mayor Weiss,
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman.
Yes.
Ms. Elder. Mr. Love. Motion carries.
Right, okay, so motion passes, so we're out of executive session. Now do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes, we are adjourned.